Welcome to ScoreCraft, Episode 1, Thunder Bluff. Towering above the rolling prairies of Mulgore stand the four venerable, ancient mesas of Thunder Bluff. These mighty pillars of stone serve as the ancestral home of the Tauren, a wise and deeply spiritual people who revere, perhaps more than any others on Azeroth, the importance of communion with nature. It's hardly surprising, as their city, that great cathedral of Earth, is a humbling reminder of the power and beauty of nature. From its vantage point, they can survey all of their tribal lands and track the roving packs of Kodo and other game. Their society revolves around the Great Hunt, and their part in maintaining balance in the dance of life out on the plains. They live their lives in perfect harmony with nature, in lockstep with the rhythms of their habitat. To this end, ceremonial drums can be found at every turn, and ever can you hear the beating of drums, as though they were the beating hearts of the mountains themselves, echoing throughout the bluffs. Wizened elders and eager young braves alike playing along in unison to the beat of Arnshe, the Earth Mother. This solemn, quiet worship instills within the Tauren an unshakable faith in their spiritual rites, losing themselves in the physical act of the drumming, and in so doing finding themselves again in the kinship of their tribe, the connection to their ancestors, and in the rhythms of the land. The first melodic motif is a musical description of the great windmills of Thunder Bluff, or perhaps a reference to the circle of life so present in Tauren culture. It oscillates from a G sharp up to an A, down to an F sharp, and back to a G sharp again, a languid and ambiguous melody given support and home by the drone of a tonic C sharp, and repeated, passed around between various woodwind instruments, once for each of the outer bluff. As it rises up and expands towards the skies, lifted up on the zephyrs that whip the mountain tops, it reveals all the notes of its scale, except one, which it lands upon as it floats down from its peak. It lands upon E sharp, which is the major third note in the home scale of C sharp, but it sounds very much more exotic and mysterious because prior to us hearing this note, we've heard many D naturals, the flattened second note of C sharp is our home, and so these two elements of the scale combine to put us in the Phrygian dominant mode, a rather obscure and unexpected choice, masterfully executed. Because our composers held off on revealing the third note of the scale for so long, they made this mode sound very different from its traditional usage in Arabian, Jewish and Indian musics, where that wide, exciting interval between the flattened second and the major third is often heavily used to create their characteristic sound worlds. Here, however, this sparing and restful use of the major third is a point of resolution, revealed only at the end of the melody, truly innovative and a major contribution to the unique musical style of the Tauren. This calmed version of the mode conjures up the image of the sun's last light gleaming across the bluffs as it sets behind the mountains that ring Mulgore, bathing the baked sandstone in glorious blood-red rays. The denizens of the city then turn sleepily to their beds and hammocks upon the setting of the sun. We hear in this early twilight one of the main melodic motifs of Thunder Bluff, based on the oscillating windmill pattern from before. A lone note followed by a turn, and then three notes falling to the first note again. A turn is a kind of ornamentation whereby a central note is reinforced by playing its higher neighbour, the central note, its lower neighbour, and then returning to the central note again. It's a very old ornament, but is perhaps most famously featured in the piano works of Frédéric Chopin, and here are some examples. This motif is played first in the cello, in between sections of ritual drumming and the rustling sounds of shakers, a mark tree, and magical voices upon the cool night air. We hear a short counter-melody from the bass clarinet, which is inspired by the previous bluff motif. It too accentuates a central note by oscillating a third between its neighbours, and so acts as a variation on the bluff theme. These two motifs are then passed between the family of woodwind instruments. culminating in a rich, warm A major chord and the final strokes upon the ritual drums before night falls completely. The morning sun then rises in the skies over Mulgore, and with it a new variation of the Bluff theme. It uses a pattern of oscillating thirds followed by a group of 3 descending steps, just a slight variation from the others, as if these motifs were the inhabitants of the city calling to one another, the same greeting in different voices. This music rises up in a hopeful way, reminiscent of a rising sun, and it does so through a chord progression towards a major chord 4, which, as we're in a minor key, should also be minor too. This unorthodox shift is what gives this section its rousing sound. As the city begins to stir, the drumming in the background becomes more prominent and wakeful. The melody then begins to explore the Dorian mode and a progression of keys in tertiary relation to one another, so all the chords are separated by 3 notes. Finishing in a triumphant C sharp. This next short theme symbolises the industry and labour of the working day. The deep, commanding double basses play long, oppressive notes that feel like the glaring heat of the midday sun. Our drummers are in full force now, whipping up the city into its midday fervour and entreating the Earth Mother for luck and courage on the day's hunt. The final passage of the Thunder Bluff soundtrack begins with woodwind instruments restating the Bluff theme in its various incarnations. Leading into an ingenious pattern of chord progressions, starting from A minor, falling down a 4th, then down a 3rd, a 4th again, and so the pattern continues off into the distance, like the seemingly endless, undulating plains of Mulgore. The pattern has a constant downwards trend, and echoes the winding down of the day and the setting of the sun once more. These old towers of stone have weathered more cycles of the sun and moon than even the elder races have known, and now as the music reaches its end, and when all the instruments are stripped away, we are embraced by a chorus of voices. The spirits of the ancestors, so dear to the Tauren, are revealed in their ghostly song, ever present under the beat of the drums, and ever guiding their progeny through to a new dawn. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, and sharing it with any friends that might also enjoy it. But now, knowing some of the secrets of this music, hopefully you can enjoy it all the more the next time you visit Thunder Bluff. I'll see you in the next video, but until then, safe travels.